Welcome back, everybody. Our first match of the night just concluded with the LA Gladiators taking the 4-0 victory over the Dallas Fuel. And they will end the week at 2-0. Definitely some good momentum to start off stage 4 with. So, moving along to our next match, we have the Houston Outlaws going up against the Boston Uprising. Now, the Boston Uprising lost their first match of the regular season since March under this new meta, so it looks like they're still trying to figure things out. But on the flip side, the Houston Outlaws just completed the season sweep of the London Spitfire last night. So it seems like they're kind of thriving under this new meta. And let me tell you this, if you were watching last night, you probably know that you might want to turn your headphones down just a smidge because it's getting ready to get a little bit louder in here. The Outlaws fans are here in abundance. Yeah, and they're going to be ramping it up. So anyways, guys, this match is going to be a hell of one. So buckle up and let's get into this thing and send it on over to Puckett and the crew at the desk.
Thank you so much, Malik. That's right, it's time for our second match of the night. How you guys feeling out there? You still with me? It's Friday night. We get paid to watch this match. I got Brent, I got Reinforced with me on the desk. Guys,
what a statement.
With the audience.
Well, I pay a few of them.
You know.
Hey, Mom. But honestly, this is a treat. This is a match of the week for me because Houston Outlaws feel like they're reborn. They are a brand new team here in the new meta, and you're going up against one of the hottest teams in the league in the Boston Uprising, who just finished a 14-match run. But Boston, they finally slipped up, guys. They fell to Philadelphia. How are they looking here in the new stage?
Well, they didn't look too comfortable with the new meta. They played much of the same, actually, which they did in stage 3. A lot of Winston Diva, a lot of Widowmaker, which they have been so good on, right? We know Striker from his Tracer, of course, mistakes on the Widowmaker. Really gave New York a run for their money, but it just didn't work when you went up against EQO's Farah yesterday and all the Reinhardt and Star compositions. Really, the only good thing we saw from Boston Uprising yesterday were maybe a lot of the Zarya and Reinhardt play we saw come out from them, especially on King's Row. But they just didn't look like they had any good sense about where the new meta is. And maybe it is because Krusty, he moved from a coaching position over to the San Francisco Shock, so maybe they just aren't as prepared.
You concerned for this Boston team right now, Bren?
A little bit. They seem a little bit uncomfortable moving into the meta. And I mean, we saw this from them in stage 2 as well, because Boston were looking, you know, a little bit better, and then we saw the Mercy changes coming in, and Boston again, they looked a little bit shaky. But this is a team that has talent. We know that they've got the good players on this roster, enough such that they can actually work their way into a bit of a different meta that we're seeing here today. So I wouldn't be too worried if you are a Boston Uprising fan. They've definitely set themselves up for a solid position in terms of the overall playoffs with that massive 14-match win streak that they went on.
I will be honest, though, I'm worried for Boston fans today because you are going up against an Outlaw squad that tore apart the London Spitfire last night. What are we seeing from this Houston squad right now?
Houston are looking like, honestly, like one of the top teams here. They said it in interviews, this is their meta in a way. Because this is really what they love.
No
their
Tracer.
bread and butter. No more Tracer, realistically. They can play the Reinhardt, they can play the Zarya. Spree can finally be unleashed again from his hiatus that we've seen him where he wasn't really playing much for the Outlaws.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing finally Houston are unlocked, and they definitely needed it here in stage 4 because they were slipping down the rankings.
But I'm not really buying it, Brent, because they repeatedly struggled versus the London Spitfire. Every time they seem to struggle versus the Houston Outlaws, and then we see the Houston Outlaws like, we're bigging it up, they're so good, they beat the London Spitfire.
You're talking about London. London struggling.
Yes, and maybe we shouldn't read into Houston Outlaws.
Okay,
too good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it was a 4-0.
Just kill the hype, Johnny.
Is today the real test, though? Do you feel like today is the real test, Johnny?
Yes.
Or is Boston off the...
Well, it has to be the real test because otherwise you're being unfair to Houston, right? If they bring down the Boston Uprising today and they bring down the London Spitfire, if you don't really consider the Houston Outlaws a good team by then, you're being unfair. So, absolutely. I mean, if they get away with a win today, then I will rate the Houston Outlaws.
Now, it is the new meta, but we've got some old data. Let's take a look at the numbers for our matchup today as we take a look as the maps. Brent, walk us through here. Who's got the advantage in the best of 5?
This is super interesting, right? Because looking at Boston's win percentage on Hanamura, they have to win realistically on both Kings Row and Oasis to want to take it to a game 5. Because Houston, I mean, they have the advantage both on Gibraltar with a ridiculous win rate of 86%, but also the Hanamura, which is better than Boston Uprising 0.
They have Muma's Brigitte.
They have the Muma Brigitte, man. They got that coming out. And honestly, he absolutely destroyed when he was on that roll. So
I mean, everyone does.
Everyone does. We're not going to make that joke again. There's only so many times you can beat a dead horse, Johnny. We're not going to go too far into it. But Boston today, they have to win realistically on this first map, on Kings Row, and on Oasis to really stand a chance against Houston here, statistically speaking.
Houston needs the win right now, and yesterday they showed us Spree, a face we haven't seen in the lineup for a while. Well, he's back in action, and for Boston, we're going to see a new face. For more on that, we go to our insider on the floor. What's up, Zoe?
Thank you so much, Pocket. Yeah, AimGod finally joined his team here in LA and has been practicing with the Uprising for the past 5 to 6 days. Now, I talked to their coach, and he said they're absolutely confident with him in the lineup, and they consider those days absolutely sufficient in terms of scrim time with the new guy. Now, this means that for the first time ever, today we're not going to see Neko in the starting 6. AimGod will be replacing him, and according to Huck, he will bring a lot of energy and good communication to the Boston Uprising.
AimGod filling in for Neko. That's some big shoes here, fellas. Does this help or hurt Boston in the new meta?
This is super interesting because Boston have really only ever played with Neko at all when it comes to that flex support role. So I'm really interested as to what he's going to be bringing here that's different to Neko. I mean, is it in terms of his hero picks? Is it because they want to run different sort of compositions into it? I'm not too sure, but that honestly does give me hope now for Houston coming into this. I was already going to be predicting Houston to be winning this match before we saw that AimGod was going to be coming in now as well, but again, just raises more questions for me. You're taking out Neko. He was a key piece of this team, very consistent sort of Zenyatta player, and now AimGod's in, so it's going to be interesting. Houston are the team that I'm going to be picking today.
Brent's calling the upset according to our standings. Johnny, where do you go with this one today?
Once again, even though Sideshow failed yesterday, I have to be the voice of reason, right? So I'm going with the Boston Uprising for this one. They went 10-0 last stage, of course, and I think that Muma's Brigitte is sort of a gimmick, so hopefully they figure it out.
Oh, yeah,
and
with the gimmick card.
Yeah, so Kalios, sorry on Kings Row. I'm sorry, Spree. It's all about Kalios for me, buddy. I'm going with the Boston Uprising.
Kalios over Spree, Boston over Houston. That's Johnny's prediction. It's time to meet our teams. Are you guys ready? Make some noise as we bring out our first squad. Give it up for the Boston Uprising. 10-0 in Stage 3. They're looking prime for the season playoff, looking for a Stage 4 playoff, and they got to right the ship. They fell to Philly earlier in the week. Now you got a great opportunity to strike back against the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about how they really haven't adapted to the new meta specifically, but still, we're seeing a lot of Widowmaker play. So they can win a couple of maps, right? We're going into Hanamura later, and we've seen a lot of Widowmaker play on Hanamura specifically. We have Gibraltar in the pool as well. So I think that this Boston Uprising squad, even though they might not adapt to the new meta immediately, they still have a very solid composition. They definitely showed us how to play during Stage 3.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Johnny. I feel like in some sense I've been underselling this Boston squad. Striker in particular, most people will take a look at this guy and we're making the claims that he's one of the best Tracers in the league, but you need to understand as well that he has more than just Tracer in his hero pool. He can play Junkrat. We're seeing a lot more Junkrat recently as well.
There's Devara.
And Devara as well. Like he can pull out different heroes and still excel on those roles. So Boston aren't hurting too badly by the shift, the radical shift that we're seeing here today.
And they are second in the league, so they have a bit of safe space to work with.
Lots of safe space.
Yeah,
I mean, you
with.
can't be hurting with second in the league. That is a very good position to really start to get a feel for sort of the general.
Don't feel too bad about yourself.
I'll be honest, I don't know who I'm more excited to see today. AimGod for the first time on the main stage, or is it Kalios on the Zarya? Please show me more on Kings Row. For now, though, we got to introduce the opponents for the Boston Uprising on the right side of the stage. Please give it up for your Houston Outlaws. They were red hot earlier in the week. Houston mounting the stage today, going up against the #2 team in the league.
Yeah, and as I said, this is the real challenge, right? Because you've beaten London Spitfire so many times, but if they take on the Boston Uprising and get a win today, then we know that momentum is in their favor this stage, and they can make a real run for the stage playoffs later, which we want to see, right, from Stage 1.
Houston Outlaws with a moment of silence. And the Outlaws now take the stage after acknowledging the events from earlier today. Outlaws, this squad, I can't wait to see what they're going to bring today because they're going up against a tough opponent in the Boston Uprising. Now they're seated. They got the game face ready. Johnny, who has the most pressure on their shoulders today? Who has to perform at the same level they did in their last match?
Well, actually, I have to say Muma, right? Because you're going up against Kingsrow and as a Reinhardt, if you mess up a few times, you can lose the game as a Reinhardt. And then you're going up against Striker and you're going up against mistakes with Widowmaker. So the Winston play has to be great in this series specifically. So I'm looking out for Muma as well on the Reinhardt and the Winston.
I'm interested personally to see this guy on our screens right now. Spree is coming back into this team. You know, he's on the Zarya. This is a role that he's been known for, you know, in the past. This is his speciality. They always tend to bring him out on the King's Row here. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs, how he matches up against Kalios in particular as a Zarya player. Because it's the point that we wanted to hit up, right? This Zarya matchup, super important. And of course, Jake, who can forget him? This guy has been practicing a lot of different roles outside of his comfort heroes now. And he had a pretty good hands on the last time I saw him as well, actually, recently when their last game against London. He was playing very well in terms of
the jack of all trades.
The jack of all trades. The Jake of all trades, if you wanted to go
Jake
there.
of all trades.
We're not going to go there. This is the Overwatch League. Well, I can't stop with the dad jokes, honestly.
Brent, how confident are you in your pick
You're
today?
21.
You went Houston, Johnny's going Boston. Are you right?
I'm very confident. Houston, Kings Row, this is a map they're always comfortable on. They have a massive advance when it comes to the win rate on Hanamura. This should be their game to take.
It's time to get the match started. Make some noise, Blizzard Arena. You got your casters. It's Uber and Mr. X.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back here with you in the Blizzard Arena for Houston versus Boston. Of course, a customary moment of silence for the tragedy that occurred earlier in Santa Fe. But looking towards this match, speaking to Flame, he says that this right now, Overwatch, the meta, all right, the ecosystem in terms of heroes balance, really rewards the teams that are willing to play to it, to submit to just, you know, what is very strong in the game right now and what is not, Matt.
Yeah, and I think Houston has a lot of players who, you know, in a meta that's obviously still developing, a lot of different picks that we see come in, like I know Junkrat and Pharah and Hanzo. That's some of Houston's strengths, right? I know bringing Zarya into the mix, right? Spree, a fantastic Zarya player. I think it could be a pretty good stage for the Houston Outlaws. Boston Uprising, they come off of a loss yesterday. Obviously, you know, they had a 14-game winning streak in the regular season up until yesterday. How do they respond today? AimGod in for Neko. This is I believe the first time we've seen them without Neko throughout the Overwatch League.
Yes, it would be, obviously, and with AimGod's debut, we spoke a little bit to the Uprising players as well. Now, AimGod spent some time in Canada, actually, at school, so we got to have a chat with him. His English is super good, and apparently his sort of English adopted name is Jeff, which Kellex was very happy about. And, you know, he sort of said that, you know, AimGod's a little bit very low sensitivity player. Likes to, you know, really focus on his aim, much as the game name would suggest. Here we go, though. We're out of the gates here with the Outlaws, and Boston are on the attacking side. Kalios taking a big hit early.
Yeah, it'll be double snipers for both teams with Hanzo and Widowmaker, and it'll be Ryan Zarya combination as well in terms of tanks. As the Boston Uprising, they've made some progress. I know around the statue here, we're on board with mistakes, just trying to find some sight lines here. A sonic arrow into the corner for Striker, so they have an idea now, Boston, where these players of Houston are playing from.
Jake's hit pretty hard early, and Kalios has found his second match continuing to perform on King's Row. Yesterday was a good start, but the Outlaws are starting to bite back a little bit more. Mistakes and AimGod a missing. Striker trying to inch his way around the flank here and find some of the more vulnerable underbelly of the Outlaws, but he's found little so far. Kalios' resources being stretched to the limit, but he's got himself an early graviton here, and this could hurt. Jake takes a big hit, but of course, the Valkyrie in play, giving them the healing they need for the Outlaws to hang on.
I was going to say, Bonnie keeping everybody topped up. It'll be 3 shots there from Linkser. Put away that Boston Uprising attack. It's going to be much harder than yesterday for both of these Zaryas to gain charge in terms of energy because there's no Junkrats in the mix, right? With double sniper, you can obviously plan your shots much better. We can take another look from Linkser's POV. 2 headshots, one on a Gamsu, one onto AimGod, the kill on a Striker there. Ends that, but the average energy of these Zarya is probably going to be lower than yesterday, just because you do not have Junkrat in the game right now.
There's a graviton here for Spree. In fact, those are out of sync. Striker's fallen again. Linkser really controlling space right now with the Resurrect, but this allows Spree to come forward and remove Kalios, not even having to use it. Oh, Linkser, I spoke to him earlier on. He said my hands are cold. He started warming them up, and now you can see he's blazing.
With how he played yesterday, coming out of today, it's like, what the hell?
This is actually pretty filthy.
He's shooting 73% in terms of scoped accuracy right now. Obviously early into the game, but it's an extremely high number, even for this early, right?
Gamsu barely got out of spawn, Matt, earlier on. Still a Graviton, still a Dragon Strike for the Houston Outlaws. They've not been pressured into digging into the pockets to use some of these ultimates, but now they'll gladly do it. And that is a nasty Dragon Strike. Kellex knows that there is absolutely no point even getting involved at this stage. And Jake, where he a couple of moments earlier, he would have seen Kellex try to scuttle off into the shadows, and now he waits in the wings.
So here's the tough thing for the Boston Uprising here, Mitch, is Striker will switch from Hanzo over to Junkrat. The Junkrat obviously can put down a ton of damage. You want to try and burst down these tanks. If you're not able to do so, you are just feeding Spree more charge. The more charge equals more damage. The more damage equals another Graviton Surge. So you need to follow up these kills with the Junkrat damage.
Starting to belt in now. Kalios approaching second Graviton of the round. Gamsu's hoping to bait some damage onto that Zarya bubble, but the Outlaws are not biting. Very patient play with mistakes again being removed from the equation. It's also aim got down. All that time Gamsu spent getting split off to the left-hand side. His team was unprotected. The Lynx are capitalized.
Yeah, but look at this. Spree has caught up to Graviton the Surge ultimate charge to Kalios. They're both sitting at 80% because of that Junkrat play I had mentioned. Spree now sitting at average energy of 75 to Kalios' 30.
That's huge. What a massive difference. And Zarya is really going to be hitting hard, Matt, when she's that charged up. So you can see Boston have got some progress here. 60.3% was their last recorded progress, but that's mistakes down again. Linksa! Oh, it's so painful! And he's not done yet. Linksa has 13 final blows and 0 deaths. He has accounted for more than half of the final blows on the Outlaws, and now he's going to get another one. AimGod there tries to go for the Transcendence, but it's not enough. Kalios used his trance to no avail. And now there's 7 seconds left. The Outlaws are killing it.
Oh, and they have to pretty much run in here. They're going to run right into a Dragon Strike. That'll be an Earth Shatter from Muma. As Boston will not even take the point. Houston, they outkilled them there 30-3, Mitch. Unbelievable.
The battle cry at the front row. You can see the energy now, and Outlaws have shown us one of the most dominant performances on this map that we have seen in the Overwatch League. I think that's a safe bet to make. Just these pinpoint adjustments with his cursor. Yeah, I don't know what happened, guys. I don't know how I killed these people. I just looked at them and they fell over. It's so weird.
He just looks like so confident coming into this stage early on, and the game we casted yesterday against London, and then just seeing him on the stage, right, playing Widowmaker, he knows that that's the hero he's going to roll with this stage.
Man, I guess we have time after this to go and sign the documents to open that candy shop after all.
Yeah. So you know what also it is that with him playing Widow now, you're not really going to see a ton of Genji Tracer on the other side, so he pretty much knows it's just going to be that straight-on Widow battle that he loves to play.
We talked about this yesterday, Matt. Houston want their opponents to be forced into trying to challenge them Widow versus Widow. The same you could say of Philadelphia. And that's exactly how Philadelphia conquered Boston in that match. Getting that Widow dominance. Carpe was incredible in that series, and now the Boston Uprising, it looks like they've been served up their kryptonite twice in a row this week.
Yeah, I mean, just look at that. I mean, Spree with those fast Graviton surges. Obviously, Striker making the switch over to Junkrat ends up helping the Houston Outlaws.
Providing that, Spree can get damage with that charge, but
yes,
it's pretty much a sure thing.
But I mean, when you're double the charge of the opposing team's Zarya and you're able to put down even a little bit of damage, you're going to build that Grav rather quickly.
Muma? Considering the Vegeta would be
not surprising after yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Flame, he said he actually thinks that's single tank Vegeta works well on Gibraltar first. They didn't expect to use it so much. But Muma goes for a bigger shield and a proper hammer here. The Outlaws now out of the gates here. Spree on the Roadhogs. We've seen this before. Spree is not just that Zarya player. We've seen him go for the hog before, and I believe he had one of the sickest hook sprees that we've seen a couple of stages back, Matt.
Well, you play the Roadhog here in combination with the double snipers because you know Arisa's on the other side and you want to break down that shield rather quickly. If you don't have the Roadhog, you're going to lose the shield war, and Muma's going to be very very easy to take out on the point.
Mistakes? No? Okay. Bueller? Anybody? Jake comes in, scatter shot, not quite as artful as Carpe's performance, playing this exact same line. Still, you see Jake's got so embedded here because the Uprising have to play around the Orisa. And now Jake can sit back and be relatively safe. Strike is punished for a brief peek, and Spree gets pulled in. Kalios is able to finish him off across the map. Jake has a lot of targets here, Matt, but he does need to find these shots.
Yeah, but look, I mean, Boston is the one who has to be the aggressor here. Houston only needs, a little bit less than 2 ticks here. It looks like they're going to get 1 tick.
As he's striking now, is chasing Linkser. If Linkser can keep him busy right now, or Remote Mine's going to hurt. Yeah, nowhere to run there. Muma will be surrounded and accosted. Brought to heal. Oh, we can't finish Calyx there. It looks like the Fire Strike got eaten by some of the masonry. Didn't actually connect with him himself. But still, 1 tick for the Outlaws, and it's a good start. Jake was waiting for the Riptide. He was actually sat there on Hanzo, waiting for it to come out. Missed it, I believe, with his first shot, and then fell foul of it as it collided with his noggin.
And Bonnie had used Valkyrie, maybe trying to force Valkyrie out, or whether it's Transcendence once they lose Gamsu on the other side. But here we go again. It'll be Muma getting onto the point. They're trying to get Kalios defect here.
Nice hook. Get the extra damage. No, it forces the self-destruct here, which would mean a resuit spree. Trying to prevent Kalios from actually being able to get back in the mech here. And it works. Jake was able to find him. Now striking down. A lot of damage missing here from the Boston Uprising. And it's double Transcendence here as Dragon Strike rings through. It's not enough to deal with Gamsu though. Kalios again ejected from his suit after bringing ball back into the fight. And that supercharger now has expired. Just going for a V6 now, Boston. That shield is still up here, but the Uprising, if they force back inside that little room by the post box, they can't contest. Riptide finds Banny, but it's going to take a lot more than that. Raucous now is getting rough and rowdy on that left side. Going to make sure Boston can't get there, and there it is! Map 1! Blink and you'll miss it, ladies and gentlemen. Houston go up 1-0.
Another strong Widowmaker performance from Linkser, carrying over from the great game that he had yesterday. I mean, he finishes with 21 eliminations, 16 final blows, leads Houston to a Map 1 victory.
See you after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Map 2 coming at you.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
The question is, can they secure their playoff spot?
We came to the conclusion after stage 1 that we were going to take all our attention to focus on the seasonal playoffs, because in the end of the day, that's everyone's goal.
Oh, the stick on the mid ocean, and he gets murdering. Are you kidding me? Houston Outlaws take down the London Spitfire.
I'm hoping that Bridget stays in the meta, because if that happens, Tracer is not going to be played. And I don't want to say that, you know, we don't like Tracer, but I don't think anyone wants to play Tracer on our team, to be honest.
We don't have too much time remaining. Houston Outlaws trying to build up.
I think stage 4, the map pool, is actually the biggest, like, advantage for us. We have Dorado, Lijiang Tower, we have Lunar Colony, King's Row. This is like god tier meta for us. Plus Bridget's coming in. I'm super excited for stage 4.
Stage 1 all over again, baby.
Seriously.
Yeah, it really
Trump Grad
is.
Widow.
Oh, that is dirty right there.
We're in the middle of the pack, and stage 4 is only looking to go up for us, so it is like sitting right there in front of us, and we just have to take it, really.
To win against the best players in the world and the best teams in the world, it would be literally the best thing that has probably ever happened in my life.
They need these maps, they need these wins. It has really been all Houston Outlaws tonight.
The time is right for Houston to make that tilt at the stage playoffs, or the season playoffs now as well. Again, middle of the pack, and opportunities like this, you don't let them go begging. They start off well. Kings Row, a map they say is definitely right up their alley. It's great. Well, and our next one, Matt, is terrible for the Uprising.
Yeah, it's not exactly great. It's going to be Hanamura that comes up next. But you know, Kings Row, I mean, they mention heroes there, like, you know, your Junkrats and your Widowmakers. They got a pretty good Zarya over there as well, playing for the Houston Outlaws.
Look at that.
But you see the average energy, it's so high because Boston ended up switching into that Junkrat. Junkrat, just obviously with the amount of spam that he puts down, is just going to hit those bubbles just by the nature of the hero, right? Where if you're playing the double sniper that Houston had, you can obviously aim the shots, you can time them, you can avoid those Zarya bubbles a little bit easier.
That goes from a light tickle to an orbital lance strike if you get charged up. Your boy Note's back in, so it's the second time we've sort of seen him subbed in after map 1. Probably expect that to be a fairly regular thing. The coolest of mats will also take the stage now. Presumably, more D.Va duty to be done.
Yeah, you figure he comes in on maps that they're going to play D.Va. I wonder if that becomes a little bit obvious as the stage goes on. But, you know, if you're good at it and the other team's going to run the Rhine Zarya anyway on a lot of the same maps that you are, there's not really that big of a difference, right? I mean,
is a top-level D.Va player as a weakness that you could try and exploit?
Well, no, I mean, it's not really a weakness knowing what the other team's going to run, especially because on a lot of these maps, the other team's going to probably want D.Va as well, right? It's not like, you know, Boston's going to leave Kalios for a map in like this. I mean, you can play Zarya here, but you'd much rather have D.Va. They bring in their own D.Va player, the other side swaps this one.
Saw Hanamura for Boston, which left a little bit to be desired in their prior stoush against the Philadelphia Fusion. And of course, the spree for Boston, the win streak, is fortunately a thing of the past. Now they've got to work their way up, and they're in a brave and strange new world. It's a jungle out there for Boston. I don't know how many vines they got hanging down over there in Massachusetts, so they're going to have to acclimatize pretty quickly. We're going to have a Widowmaker on defense and the Junkrat. Classic Houston, straight out of the textbook. Strikers on Tracer, though.
Yeah, and at the beginning here, they're going to try and jump through the left-hand side. The issue they had the other day was trying to get their supports through the door. Right now, you have Mistakes playing with both supports at the gate, as it'll be both tanks going around the outside with Striker. They're able to deal with Jake. But what happens with these supports? Now that Mistakes is down at the hands of Lynx, so you're going to have Muma jump right on the supports.
Yeah, we know what Striker does, man, when he's got room to breathe and to work his magic. Coolmat doesn't have much help right now except for a cursory Harmony Orb attempt, and Bunny now can try and keep the Pilot D.Va alive. Striker's really causing problems here for the Outlaws, and again, they didn't come out of the gates playing Pegita, right? Now they'll probably have to switch to it to shut this man down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Jake does as he comes off the spawn, but the biggest thing here is that kill on a cool now. When you get him D-Max, he's not able to be that scout on the point. Stay alive. You can't leave the supports in the back alone. With Striker, he takes out Bonnie.
Houston are back on the point, though. They got the respawn in. It's rare to see that happen, but it's been good stagger by the remainder of the Outlaws to keep it alive. Easy as you like. Houston return and reclaim what is theirs.
So Jake makes that switch off to Brigitte. So we'll see how Boston will react. Will you stay on Tracer? Will you stay on Winston? Even D.Va here in this situation, as it'll be a triple support comp for the Houston Outlaws on defense. I imagine Jake is, you know, if there's a player who's going to be pretty good at this hero, I imagine Jake would pick it up, kind of constantly harass Tracers, as that'll be Aim God falling Or a shot from Linkser, continuing his hot Widowmaker play.
It's called balls to the floor, that one. Did you know, by the way, there he goes, Mistakes goes rolling.
See.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Sees a pixel. Did you know that hate in Swedish is also goodbye? Oh. So when we're waving, you could also be saying goodbye. It's quite convenient, right? Extra BM for Jake when he kills someone.
So now the Houston Outlaws have the information. With these 3 players gone and Mistakes gone as well, you know that both supports are alone here, and you know that they don't have a res for another few seconds or so. If they wanted to, they can put pressure on this. What they're deciding to do is they send Cool Matt here with Jake, and you're going to have Muma just kind of play the door. He's going to just kind of play to which players are weak. If Linkser hits a shot at the gate, he's going to go jump on those players. If not, he's going to go around the flank, try and deal with these players.
I mean, this is working well. Houston are now leaning into this composition featuring the Vegeta. Bunny bringing Linkser back to the fray. The secret weapon, or not so secret perhaps. It's not very subtle what he does. It's back in the mix. We've got Prime Rage here for Muma. And, of course, importantly, Infrasight, which Linkser may save until Mistakes pops his.
So here's a comp you can play that Junkrat into if you were Boston, because there's no Zari on the other side. You can play a Junkrat into the Brigitte combination.
No
she's not
static
great.
shields.
Yeah, she's not great against Junkrat. It's still, it kind of gives you that same problem like getting through the gate.
Houston have always been more defensively geared team, and this is their playground right now. Primal Rage from Muma, I can imagine he'd like to cause some problems to the backliners of the Uprising when the time is right. Muma very disciplined here. Takes to the skies, now going to benefit from the rally. Happening mid-fight, which is not sort of standard. We see a lot of Vegetas use them in between, but Jake decided it was now time to bestow large amounts of armor over to his allies, and Muma now has 714 HP. Think of that what you will.
Well, it just allows him and Muma to play at the gate alone, and all the healing to go to Cool Matt and Linkser on the back. But they do deal with Linkser. They get all the way into the back. He'll get res as Muma jumps right on Kelix. Now you're forced to use this Transcendence, where you probably wouldn't have wanted.
It looks like Note lost about 20 slap bets in the past, and they're getting paid back to him all at once. Jake says, go ham! Mistakes comes the flail again! And now repair pack. No, it's too late to save Bunny. But still, Jake is there, can stun up and cause problems for Gamsu, but Striker returns. Jake is very low, no healers there to keep alive. It's Muma in a 1v1. He versus Striker. Cool Matt is actually here in all fairness, and that is going to force a recall out of Striker, who may have to wait for the Mercy to join. Now Kelix is here, the healing's available, but he's down. It's a trade though. Striker's found Cool Matt. Note and Mistakes are about to return to the point. The Widowmaker's in the front door, and he's found Muma. Now Linkser has to do it all himself. Note charges in, Micro Rockets connecting, but Linkser barely staying alive. A glancing hit from Mistakes lays him very low, and he can't return to the point. Bunny, resurrect, that's ambitious to say the least. He's not able to bring Linkser back, and now in overtime, the Boston Uprising will take it. That was a game of inches, Matt.
Mistakes hitting a few shots there. Saves them. So now we'll have a rally that's a little bit more of what you see with this Brigitte Ultimate. A lot of people just kind of standing around, getting around, or getting the full benefits of the armor. And you can see at the top of your screens how much armor that exactly is. Look at how much more HP now Houston has.
And it goes under the shield of Raucus, not above. So Raucus may keep that armor unless he is taken very low. Mistakes, what is he looking for here? Jake's getting close. Whip shot may be done. It's going to be Transcendence over on the point here. That's Raucus dropping in. Mistakes can still find kills here, especially Linkser. Playing a dangerous game, but Mistakes perhaps walking its final line. Overcome there by all the pressure, and Jake goes down to a pulse bomb from Striker, so he's still free on the point. You see him here. That's a recall. Gamsu's Primal Rage, but he's down to about 10% of his health, and that pulse bomb will make it hard for Note to hang around. Here's a Transcendent thrown hastily into the mix. Cool Matt's low. He's actually out of his depth right now. We do see a lot of healing available from Bunny. The Valkyrie helping the Outlaws stay in this fight. Really just trying to weather the storm. Notice that Gamsu wasn't there, kind of out of position, leaving Note alone for quite some time, causing him to be desuited. Whip shot for Striker though. Jake gets the kill he's looking for.
And look at him just kind of box Note in there with his shield. Finally take him out. Oh, guess what? We have another rally here for the next fight, as Jake will be able to use this to get everybody grouped up again. Increase some of the HP pool. You see Raucus did lose a little bit of some of that armor, so they'll get that.
Just get it back, mate.
So now you're going to play Mistakes on McCree into this. We haven't seen great things of McCree against Brigitte. Same thing with Tracer, but seems like Boston wants to continue running the Tracer, which I think one like Striker can work his way around. He actually did take out Jake during that fight with a Pulse Bomb. It's just going to be very difficult to cut down and burst down a lot of this healing.
Difficult, impossible, perhaps. Linkser, play Junkrat, you won't. drops down there as well. So Lynx is playing the bottom left here. Striker's onto the point. So Lynx is still free to deal with him here. This is good. To relieve some of the pressure on the high ground. But now Lynx will be barking at his team saying, look, they've got a tank down here. We need help. Calyx, though, being removed on the high ground is, again, a big pressure relief valve here. Striker, there's not much reason for him to hang around.
Yeah, but that's what you can do with triple support. Lynxer goes on the point. It's Gamsu and Striker there. What do? Bonnie just heals him from the high ground. Everybody else pushes through with, you have Jake and Raucus able to heal people up, right? Jake obviously keeping the Inspire up and the repair packs, and then Raucus obviously with his Harmony Orb. I mean, Jake's right now kept the Inspire up for 2 minutes and 31 seconds, so that's a lot of good AoE healing when you're pushing in with some of these tanks.
Well, in all fairness, it's more than 25% of the round that he's had that available. At about 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Oh, you can't see that. You can. Oh yeah, by the way, another rally. That's all good. No worries, fam. Give me that armor.
It's every fight. I mean, a minute and 30-second ult charge time. That's faster than AimGod is getting that Transcendence. And obviously, Calyx getting Valkyrie here. So, giving a lot of HP to the Outlaws on this map.
Bit of a boop there with a whip shot. And Jake probably stays on the high ground here. Gamsu is going to walk into Jake up there. You saw him run away. Perhaps he didn't realize that that area had been claimed by Brigitte. Now, with mistakes having been removed, Lynx's death not really consequential in the grand scheme of things. It's unlikely to even be resurrected. 30 seconds, Matt. Time be ticking down, and there's a Transcendence for Raucus, who has a lot of health.
And now mistakes will switch off of McCree. We'll go to Sombra here, trying to get a touch. Maybe you can get a hack onto Raucus. At that time, though,
yeah.
I mean, not even matter.
EMP, definitely not a thing here. It's a late switch.
Yeah.
Striker just has his health cut down to size. Lynx in there maybe didn't expect to walk into that many people. He immediately recalls and pulls the plug on that 4-8 fourth. Mistakes. Try and duel that against Lynx, but Lynx benefits from a lot of healing right there. Pulse Bomb, Gamsu forced into Primal Rage to try and stay alive. Striker working around the corner, sticking close to that health pack, making sure he can access it at all better. That puts him in a dangerous position. Jake runs in. Pulse Bomb, though, and the joke is on Jake, as is the egg. He gets taken down. Coolmat now back on the point. That's a resuiting Raucus to come in here. Good timing with the Transcendence. Coolmat desperately needed the healing right now. Breath of fresh air as the Houston Outlaws can now go again and set their feet. Mistakes returns to the fray. Close to an EMP, in fact, Matt. That could be a decider if he stays around.
Yeah, now also it'll be Muma with Primal Rage.
Oh, no!
Players back. It'll be Jake making the switch over to Bastion here. Just trying to put some damage down on the point. That'll be an EMP plus self-destruct.
Combo that Matt can't really deal with there. Muma out towards the side, dueling with mistakes. He wins out with just a little bit of health. Comes in, drops the bubble down. That's massive. And we can hear the Bastion just plink it away, spitting those bullets out. Note is going to suffer from the collateral damage. The Pulse Bomb was thrown over to Gamsu, and he will suffer as a result. Striker recall. Now they know he doesn't have that available. He'll get cleaned up here. The Pulse Bomb is enough for Muma, but there's enough players from Houston here to keep the dream alive. Calyx trying to get his skates on here, but it's not enough. There's your hold, Houston Outlaws. The green wall stands the test of time here on this second point.
Yes, you know, they did make some progress there towards the end. We can take a look at this. Looks like we got a Pulse Bomb replay. So we can tee that one up for you guys. But no, they did make a pretty good attempt there towards the end with the switch over to Sombra. I thought Mistakes was able to get that EMP rather quickly. They did a nice combo with the self-destruct. Just Jake coming out of the spawn as Bastion. I think whenever you see Bastion come out of the spawn and you start to hear those bullets come down, it definitely makes you a little bit nervous at times. I think it kind of sent Boston all over the place.
That was the opening bars of the song The Fat Lady Sings, Matt. That's what it sounds like. And no, I'm not talking about Mama Cass this time.
You mentioned Mama Cass the last time. I had no idea who she was.
Yeah, no. No, you did that, right?
No.
No.
Did you think I would look up anything you said?
I don't know.
No. I don't waste my time on stuff like that.
Calyx there looking a little bit flummoxed. He definitely was hunted almost primarily by Houston. Mistakes actually have the most deaths with 10. Calyx not far behind on 7, so he definitely struggled to really get rolling there. Big shouts, Muma. 10 of those final blows there on the tank roll, and obviously seeing him be able to switch to that Winston and then play Ryan in pretty much the same match is very, very, very important. Some teams, of course, might have a player dedicated to either of those roles.
When Jake was playing Brigitte as well, finishes that round. 22% of the team's overall healing. And obviously switches off of her to Bastion towards the end, but had about 4,900 armor provided. So that is a huge amount of armor. Makes these heroes very difficult to chunk down.
10 Winstons. theoretically creating a
Yes, in
sixth
theory,
man.
yeah,
A
theory,
sixth man.
yeah.
If the most deaths here is 10 and 5,000, there's 10 Winstons. Created another hero. Oh, mistakes. That's a good opening. Linkser probably didn't expect that one. Again, less consequential, as if Linkser was defending. Oh, we'll just come back and join the fight again. Cool, Matt. Where are you going with this one? Does he want the Zarya?
Zarya.
Does.
Yeah. As soon as they see Junkrat, they switch over to Zarya. So now we'll see. This is what happened with Boston the last time. They ran Junkrat into Zarya. They fed up Spree. You have to see Cool Matt Zarya now. Not the Zarya specialist on this team, but still more than capable. A lot of shield pressure from the Outlaws with the double snipers as well.
Jake there taking a little bit of damage. Quite a lot being thrown at the Outlaws, but they make it through the door, so that's a huge milestone for them now.
Charge.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Orisa just nailing in those shots, and the Junkrat to boot. Coolmate, though, despite this, 21% obviously on that grab charge. They're going to have to take a big step back there. It took a little bit too much damage, and Linkser lost out the duel to mistakes once again.
That'll be key. If mistakes can keep picking up those kills, potentially able to keep this going. But whenever those halts come in, Striker has to be really careful, right? Launching the grenades in, maybe 2 bubbles, one for himself, one for a teammate, and Coolmat's going to get a ton more charge out of this. Bonnie will use his Valkyrie, but they will get the D-Mech on a note.
There it is. Linkser now starting to get involved in this fight. Note's mech removed, and, well, so was the sharpshooter. Linkser quick on the uptake, and that was the tire also going the way of the Weary. Now, again, the Uprising have to do something fairly soon here. It's going to be a lot of time in the bank for the Outlaws if they take the point at this juncture.
And then if you're the Uprising as well, what do you do with Note? Does he switch off and play Zarya? Because you don't want to play D.Va into an extremely charged up Zarya. So we can take a look at Linkser's POV here, just connecting with the headshots as per the usual. The tire coming over the wall, able to connect with it.
Huge turnaround there in a fight where burst damage could have overcome the Outlaws at any moment. Oh, Striker! Oh, you regret getting out of bed today, don't you? Jake's found him and very close to a Dragon Strike now, and everything is coming together for the Outlaws. The two halves of Exodia, the Dragon Striker, and the Graviton are about to get pieced together. Let it rip! And I just referenced way too many children's anime there in one sentence, but it's going to be the Transcendence used here. Try and keep things up for MGod, but it only really benefits him. Not a great side. He finds Coolmat, though. Amuma sets up on the point, mitigating mistakes to a great degree. Charge. Note was deleted before he could even get there, which is a good thing. Jake's now getting a lot of damage done. He's found Striker for the second time in his fight, Matt.
Yeah, they're trying to keep Muma alive on the point. It's very difficult, though. As you see, now he's going to go with an Earth Shatter, but it looked like too many players up in the sky. Not able to connect with anybody on the ground, but another charge here. He's going to take out Kellex. Just got to put the shield up.
Ambitious. I respect the play. I really do. Unfortunately, though, it won't be allowed to stand. The spray is down, and the heads of the Outlaws are up. What a stage it's been already for them. And now at 2-0 in this series, they're on the precipice of going 2-0 in their first week, Matt.
Yeah, and with how important the map differential is, it's huge for Houston to go up 2-0. We'll see if they can continue this hot streak after the break, and we hear from the desk.
If you're in the Los Angeles area, come experience Overwatch League live at Blizzard Arena. For tickets, check out access.com.
The Houston Outlaws are rolling. They are yet to drop a map here in the new meta, currently up 2-0 over the Boston Uprising at the half. Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena. We're having fun in here tonight, aren't we, guys? You still with me? Yes, making sure we're awake. This has been a very fast first half here, Brett, and I have to ask you, who's the most impressive player on the stage today?
It's got to be Linkser, right? Any questions of that? You know, any arguments there with Linkser popping off? I mean, I don't actually, I'm a bit, dumbstruck by the fact that we didn't mention him in the pre-show at all, again, because he has just been absolutely dominating. He did it in his game the other day as well, and he was on fire then. The previous issues I've had with Linkser have always been that he's been a little bit streaky, almost inconsistent in his play, but that did not happen today at all. The man, I don't want to say hard carry, because Overwatch is a team game, right. But it's almost like he hard carried the entire thing, because when the rest of your team is playing so well, if you have a Widowmaker that's just adding on top of that, there's no way in hell they're breaking the defense, and you cannot really even plan for somebody having a performance like this. It's just, when they pop off, you have to just rely on your other player or one of your star players to try and shut them down, or try and coordinate to really focus them down. So Linkser, God almighty, he is just absolutely pounding.
Yeah, and you're playing versus Mistakes, right? Who went head-to-head versus Pine in the Stage 3 Grand Finals, of course. So it is a bit surprising to see Linkser so dominant he has been this first half.
I was expecting a long and drawn-out King's Row. That
hoping.
one, super fast and efficient.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the very few highlights that happened during this game, because King's Row was over before it began. Kalio's never got a chance to shine. Free, though. Big grab, setting up the rest of his team.
Yeah, there was nothing interesting about Kalios at all today. It was all free. No, it was. Did you see the stats?
No, I didn't.
Free was.
Yeah, it was pretty one-sided there.
It was pretty one-sided. So you gotta give some credit to the Houston Outlaws. Like I said, if they beat the Boston Uprising today, and it's looking ever more likely, then you have to give credit where credit is due, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I did predict them as well, Johnny, if we want to go back to that one as well. I was
you did?
Oh, you did?
Houston. Who did you predict again? Was it Boston? It might be Boston. Could have been the team that's going 2-0 down. I didn't remember it. I had to rub it in your face. But again, it feels like, again, we're going on and on about how Linkser is one of the greatest players in this server right now. It honestly might be, because he is hitting so many shots on a consistent basis that the rest of your team, if they're playing even average, again, Mumu is one of these players that we call out quite often. He didn't have a fantastic game, he had an average game, but still, when Linkser is, you're scrooging your face up there.
It's a team game.
It is a team game. It is a team game. But even if your team is
credit to
average,
the main tanks.
Okay, credit. Johnny, you feel like he's going to murder me in my sleep.
Right?
God,
That's a death stare.
that is a death stare.
That's a Swedish death stare.
The point I'm trying to make is, if you're playing average as a team, if you have a player who's on Widowmaker and they're performing at a level that you can't really anticipate as the enemy, your team is just going to get absolutely full momentum from that Widowmaker player, all the way in there, Johnny, I'm glad I cracked a smile at you, because you looked like you were going to murder me.
Yeah, but Mistakes played Widowmaker and it didn't perform, so yep, credit to Linkser.
Can you
Good
please
job, Brett.
explain to me what else is going wrong for Boston, though? Because you win 14 regular season matches in a row. Now you're looking like you're one game away from losing back-to-back games.
Yeah, meta. It's all about the meta, right? They just couldn't. They just couldn't adapt in time. Jake on the Brigitte, he was so annoying on Hanamura. He was a striker, flexing to the McCree. He couldn't get anything done. Jake was just swinging away and healing his team with that aura. And so I think that Boston Uprising, they really couldn't figure it out. Striker on the Tracer, he had no real room to actually perform on the fantastic Tracer role, which we know him for. So you gotta change things up, man.
Can they change it up? Let's look at the maps remaining here. Of course, we have at least 2 more, hoping for a Game 5 in this series. But as we take a look at the numbers, you have to think this is where you bounce back if you're Boston, right?
Absolutely, because Oasis, you can take the win. You're 8-2 on that map. You definitely know how to win. Still, you're going up against Jake's Brigitte, presumably, and so it might be a bit harder than the stats tell us. And then Gibraltar, we know that Mistakes is a fantastic Widowmaker. He hasn't performed so far versus Linkser in the duel, but maybe you can bring it back to them.
Don't give me maybe, Johnny. No. Did you see that performance by Linkser?
Yeah,
it was honestly filthy.
Yeah,
to quote Ubershouts, that was unbelievable. That was unbelievable.
8-0 Houston Outlaws here in week 1.
Say again.
8 maps,
8
0
maps,
losses?
Mate, I'm not going to make a claim like that. I don't have my tome on me. But listen, they are playing well. I'll give you that much. Linkser is phenomenal right now. Mistakes needs to step it up if they want a chance with Gibraltar.
Get a fam in there.
I can't wait to see how this one plays out. Before we go to break, I want to show some special love to my friends in Texas. Right now, the Houston Outlaws are throwing a block party at the Coral Sword in Houston. They got food trucks.
So cool.
It's Friday night, an awesome fiesta. And guys, this isn't happening just in Houston. This is happening all over the world. So make sure you're following your favorite teams, your hometown teams on social media for all of the party information. Houston's up 2-0 at the half. They're going to try and close this one out big with a Game 3 on Oasis when we return. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You've heard the Shoutcasters, but now it's time to let your voice be heard. Because T-Mobile is giving fans the power to help select the first Overwatch League MVP on Twitter by using hashtag OWLMVP and your player's battle tag.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Houston Outlaws currently hold the 2-0 lead over the Boston Uprising. A lot of good stuff in this match, especially if you're a Zarya main or just a fan of Zarya gameplay. Spree was going off in that first match at Kings Row. It was just awesome to watch. I do want to take a second to actually give a nod to Jake, somebody who's taken a lot of criticism for not being necessarily the best Tracer player. I think this stage in this new meta, he's shown that he's got a versatile hero pool. He can play a lot of different heroes. Last night we saw him popping off with with Farah, and today he's been doing a great job with Hanzo. So it's been really awesome to see how many different heroes that he can play. Now, this next map is very important for Boston because they are in danger of going on an 0-2 skid, which is kind of unprecedented considering that they were undefeated in the last stage. So let's see if they can get back in this matchup. It is 2-0 Houston right now. We're going to go ahead and get back into the second half with our casters, Uber and Mr. X.
Schmilink, you reckon the narrative about Jake only be able to play one hero, bro? What are you doing? What are you doing? He's not wrong though, is he though? We saw his Farah yesterday was so good. We're talking about him having almost being tied for like the most boops on Lijiang Tower or with Farah. I want to take a moment to recognize that sick block party going down in Houston. Save me a spot.
Yeah.
Cold one, fam.
Oh,
that looks sick.
Yeah, I want to get down there.
That's amazing, amazing down there. Thanks to you guys for coming out, of course, here in the arena, of course, all around the world to watch some Overwatch League. Obviously, some parts of the country you'll be sleeping or not sleeping, and then I appreciate that. Let's get on to the actual content, though. I'm rambling. Subs!
Bring the Zaryas back. You're going to have Kalios, who will come in for Note. And you'll have Spree, who will come in for Cool Mat here on Oasis.
Spree!
You can play
there it is.
Decent amount of Zarya on this map. We'll see how Boston adjusts their game. Whenever the Houston Outlaws saw Junkrat on the other side, they would immediately switch to Zarya. And then the one time where Boston was running double sniper, and then they switched off of Hanzo to play Junkrat into that. So we'll see how both of these teams change things up. This would be such a big win for Houston. If they can get potentially even like a 4-0 here, right? A 4 over London in Boston in the same week. And then for Boston, an 0-2 obviously would not be an ideal start. Off the top of my head, I believe they went 0-2 the first week of stage 2, and then they ended up making that comeback towards the end. That was when Kalios was playing like main tank for a week, whatnot. So they have been in this type of position before, getting off to a slow start at the beginning of a stage.
This is kind of cool, though. You actually have, just the Orisa Roadhog, just reasonable enough. Pair that, though, with the Farah here with Striker. I like that. Houston Outlaws, though, the Zarya is coming in here, so that's a big point of difference between these two and the McCree.
And just like how on King's Row, if they're going to run Zarya and you are going to run... Now you have 3 heroes who create a lot of spam, right? With Farah, Junkrat, and even Gamsu too, in effect, playing Orisa, because you want to always keep the gun churning to make sure you have that shield up time. Yep. You have to pick up the kills. You cannot allow this free damage to go down and get turned into energy on the other side.
Linksa. Oh, it's so spicy. Just comes around a corner. 3 shots on a Mercy. That's a long way away. That's not easy to hit. This guy on point. Does need to be a little bit concerned about Striker, who could swoop down on a moment's notice. But Houston have to control the point. There's no obligation for them to get overly aggressive and push into this Orisa shield. They can hold forward, yes. But they need to go chasing it all. The pressure is on them.
It was a big pick by AimGod, though, towards the end of the fight, as AimGod will get res right up as well. He did take out Spree, which kind of resets his charge in terms of what he has as Zarya. That'll be a Riptire that gets taken out right away by Jake's Farah.
Yep. Just picks that one off from a long distance. Jake and Lynx are combining well to shut down Junkrat playing in general, which is not something we see a ton of from Mistakes. Striker, Farah, kind of like a bizarre universe here for the Boston Uprising, but they must adapt. Survival of the fittest here in the Overwatch League, and Muma is waiting for his chance to bring the house down.
Yeah, look, Boston does have some games to play with. Obviously, they want to win most of these games, but they also want to be prepared going into the overall playoffs. So you'd rather take some hits here early in the season, trying some things out in real time, of a game, than rather, try it towards the end of the season or maybe for a first time in the playoff.
Linkson knows a prox. Oh, AimGod! Whoa! He just gets knocked across the map. Gotta love me some ragdoll. Banny, unfortunately, resurrect Linksa where he was. He wasn't too far forward, but nice little salvo there. Orbs of Destruction charged up, and AimGod really living up to his name a bit. Talked much about how he likes to play with that low sensitivity. Now the shield's there! Or is it? See, the Transcendence does help a little bit there, but Kellex kind of still had to hide behind the wall. Earthshadow to follow up, and that's Gamsu knocked down. It was just him, though. Kalios out of position. He was too far forward of the barrier, and Houston had pole position. And they made the most of it here at 87% to 0. Mistakes has a Riptire. Doesn't quite have the same ring as Jake with a Riptire, but we'll see. Striker also has that barrage.
But you do have a Valkyrie for the Outlaws and a Deadeye to just clear players off of the point. The Riptire still going. Mistakes trying to get up towards the high ground. Jake shoots it off the wall.
Lovely work, Striker. Doesn't get much done with the barrage. It was definitely going to be an aggressive one, a desperate one at that. Deadeye being channeled. Linksa Tries to get through that shield, but everyone from Boston Uprising splits left and right now. He'll choose to flank himself. Mistakes getting hit hard, but the flash doesn't connect. Linkser follows up beautifully though, and Ango wasn't ready for this one. That's two. He's looking for more now. Kellex floating above. Kalios trying to challenge you with a Bunny Blaster, and Linkser can't deal with it. The charm of D.Va is too much for the Gunslinger. He's down. We'll see though, Kellex very low up in the sky. That was free to chase him up. Houston, oh, Houston looking good here to start Oasis. Stony face and silent. You can see the determination is clearly written here.
And I tell you what, when you're down 0-2, it has to be so hard after halftime to come back into one of these control points, because it's like over before it even begins, right? I mean, you lose this 1 point now as Boston, you're just like, whoa, 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 like, let's slow the game down a little bit. Like,
not happening.
Yeah.
See the Outlaws as well, they do favor, you know, generally a more static kind of play, right? They want to play trace, they want to play dive, they want the game to be played at their pace. And now Boston are realizing we can't play to the strengths that carried us so well through stage 3 anymore. Not even just in hero picks, but in play style, philosophy.
But you have to go back to what you've worked on in between stage 3 and stage 4.
That's the question, man.
So we'll see. Ooh, Linkser almost connects with Striker up in the sky. But I will say, when you go on such a long winning streak, you know, when I was coaching Call of Duty, we went on this crazy winning streak, right? We win like, 12, 13 events in a row, whatnot. When you lose, like, even just one, you start to just, like, second guess everything, and it seems like everything's, like, falling apart. But really, you lost one game, right? I don't think Boston can allow themselves to do that. Go down the rabbit hole too deep.
Oh! Mistakes! Your health insurance has run out, mate.
He didn't mean to hit that.
See, that's an American joke, Matt. Too real. Raucous now. Might struggle here. He might just have to jump off the edge there. So obviously Link's are playing super aggressive, but he can't spend time watching the bulk of the Boston Uprising when he's trying to chase the Pharah and Mercy combo. So obviously he found himself all of a sudden surrounded by foes he didn't expect to be there, as the Outlaws were bundled off the point. Good start for Boston. The Bagheera here for mistakes as well. We'll see how impactful it can be, as obviously there is a Widowmaker here, which is in and of itself not common on this map, man.
No, you don't really see Widowmaker too much at all here. It's a Jake with 2 rockets right into Striker. We'll see if this can get res right up, but Jake putting some pressure on Kellex. Not able to get him before he gets the res, though.
Approaching very rapidly on that Graviton Surge, and Jake now falls to Strikers. So the wrongs have been right. If you're Boston Uprising now, you win that Pharah duel. Now, Link's is playing this off angle. He doesn't get knocked off from the edge of the map here, but he was definitely taking risks. It must be hard, Matt, to get good sightlines on Striker when he can obscure himself so much behind these archers.
And now Mistakes is going to get very close to a rally. If you're Houston, what do you do? Do you try and switch off of this to something else? That'll be a long-range grab. Here's going to be the rocket barrage that comes down. It's a very effective use of ultimates there for the Boston Uprising. Now, both support ults here. They're going to have Rally as well. Earth Shatter. It's what is, does Linkser stay on this? Does he switch off? Are you really concerned about the Pharah? If you get the Pharah, so I guess the thinking is if you can get the Pharah Mercy out of the sky, then eventually you'll have enough damage with your Pharah of your own to be able to chunk through all of this HP.
Philly play like this too, Matt. They use Carpe sort of as Widowmaker on maps on Lijiang, the other day in a very aggressive fashion, and well, obviously it paid off. So Linkser now moves on to the point. Again, he's probably worried about trying to get some space. So he takes to the high ground now. Striker's not being attended to right now by his medic, and he's down. The Widow's Kiss in full auto mode is enough to remove him, but Linkser gives up his life in the process. Good to see a bit of aim god here. See the new addition. Very defensive positioning now, rushing forward quickly, just trying to heal the wounds of those caught in the Graviton. Raucous also going to reciprocate. Both Zenyatta's using those ultimates, and Kellex was the only casualty actually of that combo. Mistakes down though. Raucous gets himself a nice one. And Striker will be able to just thread the needle and find his target. Now Jake gets in a very close range rocket. One more will get the job done, but Link's is there. He's outside. And the Outlaws shut it down right at the death knell. 99-3.
Yeah, Mistakes holds on to the rally. There's not a great opportunity to use it during that fight. You'll use it off of the respawn here. Get everybody topped off with armor. We'll take a look at this. Yep, there's going to be the rally. Everybody's going to get the benefits of the armor.
Let's eat s'mores. Sing Kumbaya.
Aim God actually connects with Jake out of the sky. You're not going to be able to raise that either.
That is actually filthy. I don't know where Jake was, but it might have been actually around the side, like the ocean side, right? Hard to say. But whatever it wasn't resurrectable, man. I was Banny probably would have sorted it out. So that is just huge. Linkser. He ain't got knows. He knows. Our boy knows. Linkser can't remove him there. He's able to keep himself obscured behind his central pillar, but Linkser does need to be careful because AimGod is actually looking for him right now. Jake swoops in just to interrupt him, displace him a little bit there with a concussive blast. And now around the point, they actually have an AimGod Linkser duel happening up towards the side, but that's mistakes down. Jake cleans him up. The Pharaoh now having an impact. AimGod wins it out against Linkser. That's massive. Butmoom is there. The hammer hits hard and home. And there's going to be a Earth Shatter here for him now. So Houston can stay in this despite giving control of the point over to Boston. Matt, you're groaning.
Yeah, I mean, you have the effects of rally there, and you're not able to win that fight. The first kill on Akalios is huge. You would have had a grab there for Boston to combo with your Rocket Barrage. He ends up dropping. You're not able to res it. Now you have the grab Rocket Barrage combo for both teams. You're going to have a Transcendence here for Boston. Not available for Rocket City. He will get in the fight. Let's see if Spree can land another one of these big grabs.
Oh,
so good at it.
Lets it go. He gets 2 taints there. I think AimGod moves in now just to try and bolster. And Jake still finds Kellex there, so Lynx has traded out. Now, a Mercy for a Widow, not terrible for the Houston Outlaws. Let's see if they can get more for that one. No, Mistakes is in now. That's a Graviton from Kalios. Nice execution for the Uprising. And Jake was the only one to come out with anything there. You saw the Transcendence employed. Maybe a little bit too late. Maybe a little bit too little. And the Outlaws now will have Linkser to touch point. Spree will come up in next, but Linkser's down, and Spree might not even have the time to get to the point. Banny will be hustling, but he won't make it. And Boston keep it alive here on Oasis, 1-1.
A lot of the damage coming down from Striker on the Pharah. It's the first stage we've seen him play Pharah, but it looks pretty decent. Obviously, I know Jake coming out on top in a little bit of those air-to-air battles, but still 27% of the team damage coming from Striker, so doing his job, putting down the damage, allowing, whether it's mistakes on the Brigitte or there towards the end playing Tracer to follow up that damage.
Good recovery from them there, and when you mention that, we saw AimGod really have a couple of big moments in that Zenyatta. The Pharah, I think, first strike was quite good. I mean, yeah, he lost 2 1v1 duels against Jake, but that's not really important in the grand scheme of things here. It's about which Pharah can have more impact over the battlefield in general. What do you see here, Matt?
Well, it's interesting from Boston that you wouldn't expect the Pharah to come out here for the Houston Outlaws. You expect it, they've run it this far. I know on all these maps they're going to run it again. You're putting a lot of pressure on Mistakes to win a Widow versus Widow battle, and then even dodge a lot of these rockets that are going to come down.
So you're throwing a double threat at him. I guess you're hoping that Striker takes care of Linkser himself and takes responsibility for removing the Tracer and relieving the pressure on Mistakes.
But Linkser can just go up to the high ground, which how is he getting up there? It's not like Genji where you can just kind of go up. You have to use that jump pad. Makes a lot of sound.
Mistakes right now, he's not really suffering for too much attention. Oh! Benny!
It's a big pick.
That hurts. Oh, he just floats. Almost picturesque now in his death throws.
I'm taking the point.
It's a bit macabre, but all right. Jake is also going to go down to AimGod there, but Mistakes definitely opens up that fight beautifully. Good turnaround now when they can just clean it up. Pull! Gamsu now sets up on his perch in the middle of the map. Who's the king of the castle? Houston, the Dirty Rascals.
Yeah, and AimGod has done a nice job. We've seen a few times he's been able to get long-range kills, whether it's on the Linkser or Jake's. So we were wondering how he was going to come in here. Playing for Neko today, 9 final blows so far here.
He's tied for most on his team. Yeah, this guy's a monster. All right, Jeff.
Playing a little bit more. I know Neko is pretty aggressive. You can tell when you watch him on the mini-map here, if you have my POV, or for you guys at home watching, you can see he plays a little bit more defensive positions.
Yeah, but yeah, that's yielding results, mate. He's having more of an impact, doing potentially more damage because he's staying alive. Striker warded away by a right click from Spree. He's going to try and, again, get that charged particle cannon to deal with Striker, but he's not really perturbed by it. The Outlaws kind of need control of the point if they want to set up this kind of bunker composition. Not to be confused with the one that Sideshow tries to run in rank, fails horribly. But Linkser's down, so Mistakes is actually dealing with that threat, Matt.
Yeah, Jake has switched over to Brigitte. This is something we saw the Dallas Fuel do against the Shanghai Dragons on this exact point. It's not working out too well right now for Houston. They're going to have to back out as Boston has gained a ton of progress. We've seen on this point in particular, Mitch, team that gets it first can kind of stall all the way out to 99.
Okay, Linkser finds one. Mistakes. You can see the exhalation there. Kellex is probably nervous to go and resurrect that if he had it available. He'd be right in the line of sight.
You just killed a few members of the Outlaws. I mean, by the time the Outlaws come in, Mistakes is going to be coming right back out. Yeah.
They have the high ground here, so they're probably not really too pressured. They've got great ultimate economy here. Striker, Pulse Bomb. Looks like Barney took a big hit from that one. Muma, though, not affected. Maybe Spree charging up his charged particle cannon as a result of that. What's Gamsu looking for? Definitely a backliner. Raucus is down, is traded out. Striker, Batty, great bubble there. Good awareness from Spree to keep his Mercy alive. Raucus, definitely a key part of this puzzle, and that's why the Transcendence was brought out immediately, and Gamsu has to get out. He can still stall the point pretty happily from this area. Could drop back in if he needs to, and I'm here in a rally. It's Jake beckoning to the Outlaws to gather around to benefit from that extra durability now, as this fight could be a long one, Matt.
Yeah, they have nothing to deal with. The Widowmaker up on the high ground. You see all the particles coming on down. That'll be a grab right into Kalios' mech, as Kalios will get rezzed up here by Kellex, but now Lynx are coming back into the fight. You'll be able to, kind of give Mistakes a little bit of a run for his money up on the high ground. That's going to be Houston flipping the point here, though, Mitch. As Boston, they back down. Now they're going to start to dive back in.
A long fight, but because Houston have the right heart compared to Boston's Winston, they can take more space and they have to inch their way onto the point. This is where it gets tough, though. Gamsu charged away, but Primal Rage and a good bit of healing, he gets the job done. Strikes Movement down with a lazy flick. And now there it is, 99%. I don't see anyone from the Outlaws even remotely close, and they won't attempt to do it. The Boston Uprising keep the dream alive. And they will take this one through to Map 4, still with a chance to win the series.
Aim God showed up big there. It's the first game we've seen really be a standout here for the Boston Uprising. 12 final blows, 9k damage, played quite well in the Zenyatta.
No doubt about it. Hope to see more from him now. Map 4 is right around the corner. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
Wow! First, they're sour. Then they're sweet.
Oh, thanks, guys.
New Sour Patch Kids Fire and Freeze. Sour, sweet, gone.
So Houston now in prime position.
Somehow the Boston Uprising have turned this around.
Lynx are shredding one, shredding two.
Rack him up and knock him down. It's the Lynx away. Striker, he wanted it. One of the best games of the stage. That was intense.
When assistant coach Kai first joined the Houston Outlaws, his main responsibility was scouting. And by that, I mean he's looking at what the other teams are doing, what they're running, what comes and scrims and all that kind of stuff, analyzes that for his team. And on top of that, he's worked a little bit with Tyrong on strats and has been doing the one-on-ones for the team. And that means talking to the individual players because Tyrong still has a bit of a language barrier. So for Kai that's obviously a lot easier. Now with the new meta, Kai told me that they shifted this a little bit. Scouting takes up a lot of time. It's a very time-consuming kind of, pastime activity. So with the new meta, they felt like they don't really need that anymore because every team here is still trying to figure it out. We're in the first few weeks on this patch. So right now, their focus has shifted on what they are doing themselves. So they now heavily increase on the one-on-ones, making sure that all the players are on the same page. Everyone knows their place in this patch and everyone knows how to actually play this meta. And frankly, they've been looking great, didn't they? Yeah, that's right. So whatever they're doing, it is working out just fantastic for the Houston Outlaws. But Boston just won the last map. Let's see if they can bring it back. Map number 4.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Yeah, they're like Voltron, look at the arms and legs are like a 5-way split screen, like assembles.
My favorite part, it was like she's talking about Kai, right? And they show the dugout cam, and Kai is watching the screen. You see himself come on.
He was on camera.
And everybody else in the background's like waving. What's
Act
up?
natural, slight turn of the wrist for flex.
Everybody look cool. Everybody look cool.
That's it. Oh, well, it's good to see him obviously in the mix there as well. It's a very busy dugout. There's a lot of staff there as well. And of course, the substitute players. We're far from done here in this match, though. Now, Gibraltar, though, was actually quite a big win for the Outlaws, mate, especially considering that historically, between the Houston and the London match, that was a great map for London. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they had lost it
I believe it's the first time London had lost Gibraltar. It was to the Houston Outlaws. They did it with a Diva solo tank with Brigitte as well, with Muma playing Brigitte. I wonder if we see that again today. We have some subs coming in here for potentially the final map in this series. For the Houston Outlaws, it looks like we'll have Cool Mac come back in, and for the Boston Uprising, Note will come back in.
Yeah, so a couple changes being made on stage there, and those guys are sort of being brought back in.
Still getting there.
I mean, how good was Aim God, though, in that last phase?
It's really
Oasis? It's great. I mean, 12 final blows, though, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm looking at the stat screen there. So he had more than the rest of his team. It's so funny how a more passive playstyle can translate into a more successful in terms of damage and kill participation. But what will be good to do is actually have a look at how sort of he stacks up, maybe numbers-wise, against Rock. So we'll have a look at that one and see just what came out of the mix there in a map. Obviously, bearing in mind that this was a Boston winning map, but oh my gosh.
And this was the same time played as well. So a lot of times, when we have these comparisons, it's like, oh, Aim God's played like 3 minutes and Rockets may have not played as much. They played 10 the exact same time on that map. So you can see Aim God definitely showed up in a big way for the Boston Uprising. Neko had been very good as well. I think Neko obviously very good Zenyatta in his own right. It just brings in a different little pace of play here.
Yeah, well, we spoke to the players and they said, look, their style's kind of different. Neither good, neither bad, you know what I mean? But we want to bring him in here now as well as have him acclimatized. He was announced quite a while ago. Back. It's Notes!
See, I didn't lie to you. We did have subs.
Cool as a cucumber, this guy.
I bet you Cool Matt's in, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
I'm good at this.
You're the real prophet.
I'm good at this. Yeah.
The Farseer.
Brent bringing out his book of the other day. Clearly not correct.
You're a proper Professor Trelawney, Matt. You've got the same disposition too. I know you don't know who that is, that's why it's fun.
No, you make all these references, and I'm pretty sure you're the only one who understands them.
We get it. Although people are upset at me because I made an Exodia comparison. I didn't use 5 components. I know.
Yeah, I
know how many parts Exodia has.
I was super angry about that as well. That
you wrote me an angry note off screen. I saw that.
Exodia has 5 parts, right?
Yep.
Yeah. See, I knew.
Yeah, you knew that. Matt knew that, and I didn't. That's just a shame. Guys, let's get back around into it though. Watch Point Gibraltar is the map. And yeah, we saw that weird strat, right? I spoke to Flav about it. He's like, well, to be honest, we actually think it's pretty good on Gibraltar first, but we're also up 3 maps, and Lynx was kind of popping off, so, it worked. I don't think we see Gamsu play it. They downsize the shield.
Lynx was popping off, so let's just play whatever we want outside of. Hey, Linksa, you have to play Widow. We're all just gonna play what we feel like. It would be Houston on defense. It looks like this is what they ran yesterday on defense. Lynx are playing Widow. I think Jake played Genji. If they see Brigitte on the other side, Jake will then most likely go back and switch to Junkrat.
Again, this is not a map that you can sort of treat lightly. The Outlaws still need this one to take the game away. I'm going to say fancy playing another map, but they can well do that, of course. But we'll see here. Defense.
That's
so
crazy.
Genji on the defense here. Yeah, Linksa. More Widowmakers on Gibraltar than Pine, Fletter, Shawful, and Birdring all combined. Now, again, if your draw gives you more Gibraltar maps, then fine. But that is astonishing.
And I mean, you also think as well. I mean, he's had to play Tracer at times for this team, right? Genji as well. So,
well, I mean, he was initially played huge amounts of Genji back in the day, along with Widow. It's always kind of been a Widow player though. This guy's gaming history goes back so long, by the way. He's played like competitive games in like Return to Castle Wolfenstein, I think. So we're talking that far back. Linksa though finds mistakes. Of course, mistakes will need to be resurrected here. So this is good. This gives Houston a couple seconds where they can reset now, and knowing that the Uprising, the Boston Uprising that is, will need to go again when they resurrect.
And you see, that's just a little bit of a different thing that Houston does from some other teams. Cool Matt's on the payload there. Muma's actually jumped up onto the high ground, putting pressure in the back line. It's a striker. Gets Linksa weak up on the high ground, but
got him.
A lot of teams, don't really split up their tanks too often, especially when they're playing Winston D.Va. Houston does, because Muma is very good at staying alive, and same with Cool Matt.
Yeah, and low econ. Cool Matt says a lot. He goes between Muma and his backline, right? He likes to sort of be very aware of what's going on and going back and forth. Got a real big brain, good spatial awareness as well. And Linksa removes Note's mech, which is super annoying now because the Uprising's ability to access the high ground is pretty shocking at the moment. It's just Gamsu that can get there, so Note kind of has to sit around like he's just waiting for something to happen, and they lose mistakes in the process. So that D.Va mech actually flops.
We haven't seen a ton of Jake play Genji throughout the Overwatch League, but I can think back to the few times we did when he would run it on Oasis, actually, the map that we just saw. It's actually quite good. I think, Genji
that was like an Oasis map, I think it was where his highlights came from.
Yeah, so, we have seen him run Genji, with some success in the past. Obviously, I think he's a player who could translate some of that communication, right? He likes to talk a lot. When you play Genji, you can coordinate a lot with your tanks, so you can make it pretty easy to get those dash
That's
resets,
actually
right?
like Cruz, if you remember Cruz,
Yeah.
Reunited. He was a Genji player and also the main caller on that team. He plays support now, back to Lucio, I think, but he called from that position and he found it kind of slipped in quite well. Jake is trying to cut through this transcendence. The timing, he stayed alive just long enough, thanks to the help of Banny, of course, in order to get the kill on the snapback after that. Oh, Banny can bring Raucus back. This is a big turnaround. Kelex wanders into the crosshairs and Linksa will begrudgingly take the kill away. Begrudgingly because he's probably feeling bad, killing Kelex so many times this series. I'll probably clarify that.
Well, I mean, if you are Boston, you did get Raucus to use Transcendence here, so even if you don't move the payload to point B, still feel pretty good about this fight. But with the way it's looking right now, they will get point A. You'll advance now the payload through the hangar phase.
Can you play Brigitte here as the Outlaws to try and counter Striker? Oh,
well, I mean, if Mistakes is going to switch off of Widow to play Genji, you definitely can.
Right. Full dive for the Uprising. They're hoping that there's a chance for them to recapture the essence of what made them so great in Stage 3, but Jake has decided to poop the party.
And this is something you don't see, well, we haven't seen too much throughout the Overwatch League this far. Usually when you have Brigitte, you're playing Ryan Zarya, you're playing a little bit slower, just kind of progressively moving up with those barriers.
Right?
Yeah, but now you're going to be playing it with a Winston in D.Va because you need the Winston in the D.Va to be able to get to the backline and peel when you have these dive DPS heroes in the game.
So maybe Jake doesn't really operate too much as a frontliner now, but just as defense for the very critical targets, Linksa et al. Jake's found two, though. I guess he went deep enough to remove Kelex. Again, smacking him back and forth with the flail. Note now can exist quite comfortably inside this Transcendence. Aim God's being jumped on the high ground, but Coolmate trying to keep Jake alive here, and he's done a good job. Jake can come in now and cause problems for Note. Look at how Note's sequencing gets completely interrupted by Jake there. Just the boops, the knockbacks, everything is D.Va. It's very hard to nail.
And we're gonna have a rally come out here for Jake. It'll be Raucus using Transcendence as well.
That's good, right? Like, I mean, you're not losing health inside the Transcendence, so you get the best out of the armor, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Jake's just going to town now on Brigitte, just putting down a ton of damage as well. The shield bashes here is... And Boston, I think, is going to have to switch off for this match.
What will it be? Will it be mistakes back to the Widowmaker striker? Farah again. They do have the Mercy to facilitate for that at the outset. So, okay, loss of ultimate percentage to a degree. It's not terrible for a Tracer switch. Striker?
Oh, it looks like we're going to commit to this.
Not Junkrat. Okay.
I like the Junkrat pick into it, by the way. I think you can play... probably you would play like Junkrat Widow.
How vulnerable are you to Linksa though?
Yeah, you need something to get to the high ground and challenge him. But what you can do with Brigitte, right, is now you can actually dedicate Bonnie to just heal Linkser and Raucus in the back and not have to worry about the tanks. The tanks can alternate back and forth from payload duty, and they can just get the healing from Inspire from Jake in the repair pack. So you can have, Jake is almost like a tank healer, so to say, you know, controlling that space on the payload, and then the other healers dedicated to the backline, and then the tank that's weak that's swapping out with the other.
Maybe Boston are really, you know, hoping for this blade to make a difference in... Striker. This is a smear on the floor now, isn't he?
Like a pancake.
Yeah. Okay. Perhaps the Boston Uprising is trying to play around a dive here and still keep the blade in. Now, if Mistakes goes for the Dragon Blade, it doesn't work out. Perhaps that's when they go Widow Junk and try and break through this.
But I mean, you're going to have the Shield Bash here, the Valkyrie to keep everybody healed up through it. And then if the Shield Bash actually connects with Mistakes through it, you're going to have the damage from him.
Again! Oh, Jake! Yeah! Yeah, you see it. One now.
The
tactical crouching. Of course, Jake probably had his control key was stuck. It happens, right? He's out there talking so much to Spittle. It'll coalesce dry in between the keys. It'll get it stuck. I feel it.
So now Striker will play Widowmaker here. Smuma's just lurking underneath.
I didn't hear any booing then either, did I? Nope. Man, it's 15 seconds left in the round. Boston, I mean,
look at how far Moon has pushed Striker back. So Striker not even able to get inside here as Muma's done a nice job forcing him back. Now finds Aim God up on the high ground. Oh, he's going to have to use Transcendence just to stay alive. Here's going to be the rally from Jake as well.
Okay, rally comes out. Raucus comes in with a Transcendence just to supplement, and Jake is just going ham, swinging for the fence. Oh dear. It will be a resurrect by Kellex there, so we can actually bring Mistakes back into the fray, and he survives somehow. Primal Rage here. Jake's out of position. He's being healed up by Bunny. I tell you what, that's very diligent by Bunny to keep Jake alive, and he wins out against Kamsu. Houston Outlaws just got all the right moves right now on this map. And the Boston Uprising are ground to a screeching halt here in the shuttle phase. Stunning stuff, and I mean, we were waiting on the Dragon Blade. Matt, that was what Boston were banking on. Didn't quite go the way they would have liked.
Yeah, I think we got a replay. We need to take a look at what exactly happened with this Dragon Blade from Mistakes. You were playing around it for so long. Nothing really materialized with it. So we can see from Jake's POV. He's got the shield up. Just drops.
Oh my god!
Oh, that is filthy.
Does he cancel it properly? Oh.
No, he didn't. You can actually see Mistakes come out of the animation, but
still.
The Mistakes has a rough first half, Mitch. You know, 1 limb, 1 final blow, 7 deaths.
Jake's telling him obviously about some great philosophy he's recently come across. Alan Watts, he's talking about just the futility of life and death and why it doesn't actually, it's okay if you get killed in game. You don't have to be upset because we all go.
And I think, I'm just going to completely ignore it.
Stay on this camera shot.
It just makes no sense. You know, for Boston, you know, something they kind of had some issues with, like way early back. You think back to stage 1 and, you know, stage 2 a little bit, is like making the adjustments mid-game when you're changing these comps. It's like, I feel like they just stayed on that Tracer Genji for a little bit too long trying to make it work there.
So, we saw a moment of Junkrat for Striker before switching back to Tracer. Now, are you thinking, okay, so we have a Blade coming up. Do I just stay on Tracer instead of switching Junkrat so we can actually, I can play around this dive and help the Blade?
I mean, you could have done, well, it depends. Who is your primary target? Are you really concerned about Linkser up on the high ground? Are you concerned about Jake playing Brigitte in the tanks on the low ground? If you're concerned about the players on the ground, then you probably play, you know, Junkrat Widow, right? Okay. You can have the Widow challenge up top, right? If you were concerned about Linkser up on the high ground, then you can probably play Widow Genji and you can still keep those dive tanks. Because if you just go up and send nobody to the cart, you're not dealing with Jake ever on the Brigitte, right? You can, what is he going to do? Walk all the way up, get on the box, get on top of the, it would take forever, right?
It's not exactly, I mean, it's a very flexible flail, but it doesn't actually climb the high place.
It doesn't go that far.
Jake now has traded the mace in for another medieval weapon, although this one a little bit more high-tech. Somehow shoots 12 arrows at once, killing everybody.
Can also shoot
Dragons, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much fantasy you read, Matt, but that's not really that, out of the ordinary.
I don't read any fantasy, man.
It's all about the daggerons, my dude. So we've got a lot of shield pressure here for Gamsu. So he's going to, be pressured into refreshing that a lot, and it's kind of a two-pronged approach here for Houston. We've got the snipers up top. So I told you yesterday, mate, you get a cookie, you don't get more screaming. I can't afford it. I'm spending it all on you, mate. Spoiling it. You're spoiling me, in all fairness. So obviously you had two-pronged attack, right? You pressure the shield on the high ground. You make it hard for Boston to be able to drop down. Look, Gamsu should be on the low ground right now, but there's too much pressure and presence on the high ground for him to drop. Mistakes falls to the scatter arrow of Jake. Linksa now is going to be feeling definitely a lot better. Look at these peaks, he can be much more aggressive.
Yeah, and that's tough for Gamsu. The worst position to be in when you play that Orisa is when there's players behind the barrier and you have to kind of turn like halfway and you're not exactly sure the barrier is going down. You don't have a great idea of where to place the second barrier. That's kind of like the biggest decision, but you see Gamsu get so weak there.
I'm making some odd sounds, I know, but it's tough for Gamsu when you're perpetually at 10 life. You're getting chased by Coolmat. Look at Jake, I mean, look at Coolmat. Sorry, he kept them in that stairwell. He made sure that they were subject to all of the blistering pain. I assume it burns the dragon, that they could suffer. And now, he's holding the door.
He had a few players on the cart there for Houston. Now they start to move up when they know the spawners are coming through. Coolmat goes in, tries to break it up, not able to do so. You do have his self-destruct. He can kind of throw it up in the doorway if you'd like.
Payload so close here. The Boston Uprising have to spring forth. They've done well, actually, in all fairness. Now Raucus realizes, wait a minute, our front line's gone. And the bottom line is that Raucus might not be able to get out alive. I think Gamsu will pursue him now. Houston might peek the high ground and maybe punish Gamsu for extending. And yeah, Gamsu backs off. You can see that his health was a little bit...
If you're the Outlaws, though, you have a lot of time here, Mitch. You're just trying to bait out some of these ultimates. Riptire, Transcendence, Valkyrie on the cards here. That'll be mistakes falling at the hands of Linkser. Now if you can get aggressive off of this, maybe get one of those support ultimates out, that's going to be Transcendence. Here's the Riptire. So even if you lose this fight for the Outlaws, you didn't really invest much into it. Not really anything at all. So you come into the next fight, you're going to have the Dragon Strike, your Self-Destruct, Primal Rage, in for sight, you have Valkyrie, you're in a great spot. The only thing you were really worried about was that Riptire.
Oh, I don't think Resurrect's available, and I think they're trying to deny Kellex the opportunity to do so. The Dragon Strike sent forth, but Jake, I think to get that position, he had to go a fair bit ahead of his team, and that actually allowed Note to creep up on him and punish him for that overextension.
Does he swap to, yep, there it is. I was just gonna ask you. If he swaps to Brigitte here, but he sees that Striker has played Tracer, now you'll bring Brigitte down. This will give them a lot of control on the payload, right? It allows Muma to play a little bit more aggressive, whether with or without Coolmat, because you do have some sustain on the point.
Aim God in trouble here. Muma now, he knows he needs to finish the job. This could be dangerous here. Aim God doesn't have a Transcendence, but Lynx is down, so there's an opening here again, created by Boston to relieve the pressure. Coolmat's on the point, though. Batty brings Lynx back, so now returns to the fight, and Muma dealt with mistakes. Now it's going to be No trying to stay alive. A self-destruct thrown down in the periphery, and Striker will now approach again. He's going to be careful. Jake taking a special sense of glee, carrying the Tracer whenever he possibly can. But Aim God gets the Transcendence. Now Houston disengage, albeit just for a moment. They will return to the fight. Surely, Lynx is low. He's getting pressured out. You see his health bar. They're trying to keep it up. But Jake! I guess he's got sore knees, Matt. He's just doing a bit of exercise there. The Houston Outlaws, it's a 3-1. And you can see front row on their feet. And the Outlaws as well.
Oh, they did a phenomenal job countering the Tracer play of Striker. Whenever they would see him switch over to Tracer, his comfort pick, one of the best Tracers in the league. They bring up Brigitte, a real hard counter, I feel like, to that hero. And Jake gets a ton done, right? 24 limbs, 17 final blows. But for me, it's the 25% of hero damage. Plus, he also contributed 16% of their overall healing. A very nice performance on the new hero.
It's a great time to be the Houston Outlaws and/or a fan of the Houston Outlaws. 3-1 the final score here in Houston will cap off a successful 2-0 week. Not the same for the Uprising. There's more to be done for them, and we'll see. But now we're going to head over to the desk after a break and break it down for you. See you later.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel. Intel Core i7 powers the Overwatch League.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. Guess who's standing next to me? It's Jake from the Houston Outlaws, who just took that victory over the Boston Uprising. So first and foremost, congratulations to you and your team. What a way to start the first week in this stage. Now, talking about this stage and a new patch, for you personally, that seems to open up a lot of opportunities. We've seen you on Genji and Pharah and Brigitte and basically everything at this point. How do you feel about that?
I love being able to play a bunch of heroes, but I would say it's not as much the patch as really my teammates. I feel like having a team where every single player on the roster could, pretty much switch to half of the heroes in the game is so empowering. It feels like we can run whatever we want, whenever we want to, and I'm just, one piece of that. So it's just awesome to have a team like this.
So does that mean more practice for you? Because you kind of have to be good enough on all of those heroes and play them on a certain level.
It feels like right now what really is getting wins and defeating teams is better teamwork, more so than individual skill. So when I practice, I'm always focusing on what does the team need, what's my role in this situation, and just trying to play my role. I don't have to worry too much about popping off because we got a few people taking care of that on our Houston Outlaws.
That is absolutely correct. Now, speaking of practice, how much practice did you and your team actually get during the break, or did you all go home and chillax a bit?
Actually, I think we really needed a bit of a mental reset after the last two stages being, pretty tough for us, honestly. But I think everyone really took that opportunity to reset their mentality, to get the rest that they needed. And, now that we're back together, it really feels like stage one again, if I'm being honest.
All right, well, it certainly looks like stage one again also for everyone watching. So you guys are back, you guys are being recharged. We can't wait to see more of you and the team. But for now, we're heading over to the desk to break down the action.
Thanks so much, Zoe, and keep it going for Jake and the Houston Outlaws. I know the people down at the Coral Sword are cheering quite loud down in Houston right now. We got Bren, we've got Reinforce on the desk, and guys, we've talked enough about Linkser. Can we just spend an hour talking about Jake?
Oh, it's too much teamwork for me. I need some ego in there,
Ego,
I am so good on the Brigitte.
I have to ask you guys, we've seen the Jake Rat throughout stages 1, 2, and 3. Now we see the Jake G, the Jake Rod, the Jake Zo, the Jake Ita.
Jake G?
Genji,
You're stretching his ear.
Just taking the last syllable.
Can I pick all of them? Because it's an impressive turnaround from where he once was in the previous stages, right? He's improved quite a bit.
Pick one.
Improved quite a lot.
I agree, Johnny. Yes.
The Jikiri.
I like that one.
What was that? What was it? Yeah, Brent, you come up with the names. You're doing great.
It's difficult, but he's been playing so well on a multitude of different heroes, right? And it's an impressive turnaround because he was the butt of a lot of jokes, and it's unfortunate, and it's good that he's turned it around now, and yes, we are in a meta where you don't have to play Tracer as often, which is going to be helping him out, but, it is tremendous improvements. It helps out the team, and it fits in with what Houston needs. So, props to Jake for really stepping up in terms of his hero plays individually on lots of different roles.
Reinforce, we have our buddy Harsha on Twitter. He was saying stage 4 is Jake's, and now we have Harsha. His job for the Shock is to watch the opponents and game plan for them.
Yep.
If you are the rest of the opposition, we know they're going to see 8 other teams for the Houston Outlaws. What do you have to plan for? What do you expect to see Jake on in the future?
It's so hard when you have a team like the Houston Outlaws that can play a variety of heroes. So I think you need to emphasize more on playing your own game and how you can optimize your own game rather than perhaps over-strategizing about the enemy team. What are they going to run? Are they going to run Reinhardt Zarya, the Winston Diva? Just focus on your own game, and then maybe you can swap in 1 or 2 heroes, depending on what the map necessarily demands.
And of course, it wasn't just Jake. Let's take a look at all of the highlights here, because the first set, well, you're going to see a lot of Boston players here. Boston was showing some life. They clutched up on Oasis to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, and I feel like it comes down a lot to the Pharah play on Oasis so far, because you have a lot of tank heroes and support heroes that sort of cancel out each other, but it comes down to the Pharah and getting picks. And I feel like Striker had the advantage over Jake in most of these maps, specifically on Garden. But then later on, Houston Outlaws tried to play the tank, the Reinhardt and Zarya on City Center, and it's just not the best map for the Reinhardt Zarya composition. And so I felt like Boston Uprising, they could just play the Winston Diva with the Widowmaker and sort of get away with it on Oasis and take the win.
A large part of this as well that people might not consider is that Boston, they were like the map 5 gods back in stage 3, and map 5 was Oasis back then. They've got a lot of practice on this map in particular, whereas other teams, they may have, had never really been to that map 5, so Oasis in particular is one that Boston are very familiar with. But then we go to Gibraltar, and it feels very similar, I'm not going to lie, to what we saw from Kings Row earlier, where Linkser was just dominating on the Widowmaker for a short while, really stopping Uprising from getting anywhere.
Boston didn't get the memo. You can't play dive into Brigitte.
No more Tracer?
No, I mean, I can sort of buy it, sure, because there's so much high ground on Gibraltar. So theoretically, Brigitte shouldn't work. She's a low. What do you call it? One ground? I don't know what's called.
Mobility. She doesn't really have the mobility you need to go on the high ground.
Exactly. Thank you, Brennan. That's why I have you here.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'm so good at English.
You are my dictionary for my
That's awful. Don't trust me for that. Don't trust me at all. But no, the points we were making, no, the adaptation.
I wasn't going to help you guys.
Thank the Lord. Goodness me.
Goodness gracious me.
The adaptations that Houston were making were brilliant because Mistakes would move over to the Genji to try and shut down Linkser on the Widowmaker on Gibraltar in that final point, and then Jake would immediately just make the switch to Brigitte. And suddenly he's shutting down not only Strike on the Tracer, but also Mistakes on the Genji. Their impact is going to be lessened so much more. And again, the question pops up, like, Johnny, you were saying, you know, it should work because Brigitte doesn't have the mobility that you need for Gibraltar, but it does in a way because it kind of suits the play style of Houston in a lot of ways, where they just kind of rely around each other, very much a teamwork-orientated team when it comes to that.
Guys, to keep it quick here, how worried are we for Boston? This is now 2 losses to open up a stage after they went perfect in stage 3.
I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit worried about the Boston Uprising so far. They need to make some major changes when it comes to most of these maps, and they need to figure out one way to shut down the Brigitte, because so far they've run into her and just haven't been able to adapt. Striker can play the far off, but so far his Tracer hasn't been as effective as in stage 3, so major changes need to come out for next week.
Boston slowing down, but it's Houston who's heating up, and it's now time to crown our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. It's not Jake this time, it's not Muma, it's Linkser, back-to-back MVP honors for his performances on Widow this week.
Yeah, he really did he shined like an absolute diamond, honestly. Aww. It was ridiculous. It was utterly ridiculous. And Linkser is always this player, I've said it before, he's quite inconsistent sometimes in terms of his general play. Sometimes he can play incredibly well like he does now, sometimes he doesn't. But in the past 2 matches we've seen of him in Stage 4 so far, he has not disappointed in the slightest.
Yeah, and I just want to second that. It's just the consistency coming out of this guy. He's a reliable superstar, and that's what every top team needs, and Linkser has certainly provided this week with this Widowmaker play.
Well, I do have to say, unfortunately, Linkser had about 45 less eliminations this time compared to his match against the London Spitfire. So Linkser, back-to-back honors, but let's get about 100 eliminations per match. Enough about Houston. That match is in the books. Up next, though, we have the Seoul Dynasty, who is looking to lock up their spot in the playoffs. They got to get through the San Francisco Shock on the other side of this commercial break.